Often when I ask people about what they want in life, for some crazy reason, most often people name off the things they don't want. But today's topic is, again, the power of knowing what we want and writing our goals down, right? Knowing what we want and rehearsing that every single day with the emotion and the energy of what it would feel like. Too many times people get wrapped up in the how is it going to happen? When's it going to happen? Why hasn't it happened? Instead of saying, you know what, maybe I'm not where I want to be right now, but it just feels good to imagine the feeling. What would it feel like if these goals, dreams, desires, whatever you want to call it, work out? And when you ask people, where have they written this down? What images have they printed off to go with it? There's often like a shocked look on their face. The reason there's a shocked look is because many of us weren't raised to write our goals down. Many of us, weren't raised to rehearse these dreams every single day. Reading a card, reading a piece of paper, reading a journal, whatever it is, and evoking the emotions, right? So it's not surprising to me that when you discuss the power of writing your goals down and reading them every single day, it's not surprising that the response is, pretty out there. Meaning, what does this mean? Well, when we write something down that we want to write it down in the present moment. So maybe right now you don't have the job you want, all right? So you want to write something in the present moment. For example, I'm living my best life and enjoying my job every single day, or I have the best job I could ever imagine and it's only getting better. I now have the job of my dreams and I enjoy going to work every single day. Now there might be a moment in life where you can't believe that, right? So then you kind of want to write it temporarily in the form of it's on its way, and here's how. First of all, sorry about the plane flying over there advertising, but so here's how. We would write something along the lines of, I'm happy the job that I want is on its way. I'm happy the career that I'm interested in is now revealing itself. I am happy the job of my dreams is now falling into my lap faster and faster. So you're writing something that you can believe, but maybe you can't feel it in the present moment yet. And that's fine. And that could be anything, right? If it's a relationship, I'm happy for the fact that I'm single and attracting a person I enjoy, or I am happy and grateful that I'm now in love, or I am grateful that the love of my life has came so fast and unexpectedly, right? So you're writing something more in the present moment. Okay, but then writing that and reading that often is not enough, right? We then want to evoke the emotions, and this is how it kind of looks. When I write something and I read it every single day, I then stop and say, well, what does this look like? And I start to feel the emotions, right? So if yours is the example I was just using, and it has to do with love or meeting someone happy, or that makes you happy and you make each other happy. Okay, right now you might have something in you that is a bunch of negative, right? You might have something in you that is, can't really imagine that, So you need to stop for a moment. Okay, if you need to acknowledge emotions that are there that are not aligning with what you have written down, that's fine. But then you want to take that moment, and you want to begin to evoke the emotions, and this is how you do it, right? So you read whatever you have written down in the present moment, Okay, if you need to acknowledge some negativity, that's fine. But then you need to swap over, and say, all right, this is what it would feel like. All right, well, if you're in love or you're with someone you enjoy, and you're making yourself, you're both making it, bringing happiness. And, this is every single day. Then you start imagining, y'all are going to the beach together. Y'all are going to ball games together. Y'all are just sitting and enjoying peace and quiet at home. Maybe you both like to read. It doesn't have to necessarily be an individual that only aligns with what you want, right? Imagine that you're getting along, that you go on long walks together. What would it feel like? What's it look like? This is what it means to evoke the emotion. All right, so back to the job. If the job is the topic, okay? So if you need to observe the negativity because you've had a bunch of crappy jobs, that's fine, do that. But now you want to turn around and go, what would that feel like? Okay, you have read what you've written down, and then you go, what's that look like? Well, every day I enjoy what I do. If you want to work remote, what would that feel like? What would that look like? Do you work a few hours a day and then do your thing? Maybe given a certain situation, you have more of a full-time job, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? So you start to imagine what that would look like. So every day, what's that look like? Meaning you have that job, and when you're there, you're like, wow, I'm doing something I enjoy. I am happy about what I'm doing. I'm happy about my pay. I'm happy that, if you have a supervisor, meaning, even if you own your own business, right, you have customers, well, whoever your boss is, right, whoever you answer to, whether it's customers or whether it's actually another human being, as far as like a single boss, you imagine that they're good to you, that you can get off work when you want to get off, and you have flexibility, and doesn't that all that feel good? Because it doesn't do us any good. There's no reason to roll around in the negativity, right? If you've had the crappy job, crappy relationship, crappy money, whatever, you want to evoke the emotions, what it would feel like to have what you want moving forward. Doesn't that mean more to you? Doesn't that feel a lot better? So you name it, whatever it is, think about it right now. What would it feel like? Okay. Now some of you are going to say, oh, well, it would feel amazing to win the lottery. Would it? If you had all this money, wouldn't it bring a lot of stress? Unless you have a plan right now, unless you've sat down, how's the lawyer going to work? How's the taxes going to work? Where are you going to invest it? Who are you going to tell? Who are you not going to tell? It's real easy to say, oh, all this would feel amazing. But if there's not a plan in place, how amazing would it actually feel? So winning the lottery, for example, wouldn't exactly answer or take care of all your problems, right? So, we got to be careful about what we throw out there and what we think would be amazing. Getting a quick fix to some things in life often is not the best. So if it's money, what would it feel like? What would it feel like to buy someone a house, a new car, pay off family's debt? What would it feel like to have more money you know what to do with, meaning you're responsible, it's invested. You know exactly how to deal with it every single day. And then you can begin to feel, hey, that would feel great. That would feel amazing. That would bring a lot of joy in my life. So it goes back to not only what would it feel like, meaning that you can say relate to it, or it's something you can handle, or something that you would enjoy, right? Let me give you a random example. Okay, right now I'm near the beach. I would say, how would it feel to have a beach house? And you may go, that feels amazing, right, to have a beach house. Okay, well, what if I said, what would it feel like to have 15 to 30 beach houses, right? You should be able to feel the difference in that. Wow, that would be, my gosh, who's going to cut the grass? Who's going to keep up with the books? Who's going to maintain say you're renting them out? Who's going to keep up with all the expenses? All of a sudden, that one beach house versus that numerous beach houses is totally different, right? So you want to evoke the emotions of something you can imagine feeling good, that you can work your way up to. And it doesn't mean that at some point you can't handle more. But if you're broke, for example, right now, and I say, well, I'm gonna give you $100 million, Well, there's plenty of examples out there of people destroy their lives getting too much money at one time, right? So we want to have these goals written down. They need to be written down clearly. We want to write them in the present moment, and we want to evoke the emotion. And whatever it is, I recommend starting with I am. And if you can write it in the present moment now, and you can feel it now, then that's the best. If you need to write it a little bit further out until you start to see it happening, then that's okay too. But just roll with this, get started, write your goals down, and print out some images, and see how that works out for you.